Welcome back, everybody. I'm the Urban Watcher. Welcome to Understanding Banished. In our previous videos, we have talked about simulation speed, tools and reports, homes and housing, roads and bridges. And today's video, we're going to be talking about storage, markets and trade, and the town services tool. And I'm going to be telling you about what each one of these things do, and really when and where to put them. I think it's really important for you. If you're having the problem of growing your group of people to a certain number, then having them die off, or you can't getting them to breed, these two toolbars are going to be what you need to keep your population populating. Okay, so let's go ahead and begin. Now, F5 is the storage, markets, and trade. This one's pretty straightforward. The first one we have here is the storage barn. Okay, so one of the description says that here you store food, clothes, textiles, and tools. Basically anything that your people make. So food, if they grow crops, or if they butcher the meat from the pastures, or gather food from the orchard, or fish, or your blacksmith creates tools, or your your tailor makes clothes. All that material gets stored in your storage barns, and that's what this is right here. This is a storage barn. You can see I have muttons, tools, and wool. Okay, so that is the storage barn. Everything goes in there. Alright, so now raw materials are stored in the stockpile. The stockpile is this thing right here. Okay, it is a square piece of land that you put down, and everything that you mine out of the ground, natural resources that aren't consumables, like food consumables or tradables, are, well, not necessarily tradables, is like coal, firewood, logs, iron, rocks. Those things are stored in stockpiles. Now here's a pro tip for you, and this should, this is something that's really important. Do not be married to the idea of centralization. You don't have to store all your resources into the center of a town. You're gonna fail if you do that. You want to make sure that you store items and materials close to where they're being mined. Because it would make your workers really inefficient if they have to mine the items here and then walk all the way over here. If you know anything about business and corporate culture, it's really inefficient, and this game is entirely about efficiencies. You want to build sub-communities. So if you have workers working here, you need to make sure that you have houses nearby. You want to make sure that there are food sources nearby. You want to make sure that they have a place to drop off all their items and that all their necessities are taken. So here is the stockpile where they put all the materials. Here is where people put food, so my workers can go here, grab it, and go straight home, which is really useful. Okay, so now let's talk about marketplace. Marketplace and trading is really two things that you shouldn't worry about in the first 10 days of the game. You want to make sure that you have a steady economy, that you have enough food to sustain growth. If you keep growing your food and it keeps going up despite your population, and you have enough people breeding, then you're doing good, and then you can begin to think about the marketplace. So let me show you where I've placed the marketplace. The marketplace has an area effect. It goes around to that area, all around it, and picks up stored items and collects it from all the different barns. So if wherever somebody collects, like if you have hunters and gatherers, and they collect hunters collect deer meat, venison, and the gatherers grow potatoes and find wild potatoes and mushrooms. The marketplace, you assign that person a job, and they'll go around collecting them and put them in here, and then your people will have a central place to come to get distribution from. This is also a wonderful place for your trading. I was talking about the trader, but the trader will come to this place and pick it up rather than having to go to all the individual barns. So this is a really important place. People don't realize just how important, so that's why I give it more than some of the other jobs. Alright, so now let's talk about the trading post. I have one trading post. Here's a big pro tip about the trading post. Trading posts should always be placed next to your fishing or the shore. So if you have a fishing dock here, you want to put a trading post there. Now, once you put it down, the computer will send, I don't know, every 5 minutes a trader, and the trader will come in, and the second tab will be where the trader, and they will have their offerings, and they'll give you the values. So here's the trading post. Before you begin trading, you want to be able to look at your inventory and see how many materials and how many supplies and stuff you have. And anything you take out of the general pool will be gone, and your people won't be able to consume. So you want to make sure you balance that. Don't put all your food here if that's all you have. You'll starve your people out. So you put the number that you want, and the trader will go to your marketplaces and your individual storage places and bring those items here. The more people that you have, the faster they will do this, and this is great for trading. The other good thing about that is this will tell you the amounts that you have for the trading post. The second tab will tell you the value. So stone, I have 100 stone, and it's valued at 5 per stone. So if I wanted to trade for these pumpkin seeds, it's 220 units, and I could trade some stone, and boom, 40 units, and I need 20. So you can do the math there of what you would need, and you hit trade, and boom, you have those items. When you're done, this is very, very important. When you're done trading, you want to make sure you hit this dismiss. The merchant will go away, and another town will send another merchant. It's completely random which merchant you get. So, some merchants are coming that are cattle. They bring your animals. There's one merchant that brings your general supplies. Sometimes you can see the same merchant 14 times before you see the other merchant. It's entirely randomized in the game. Now, if you want to set up your auto purchases, you can. I try not to do it because I like to control everything. But here's where you can place your orders. You want to be able to tell them, okay, I want, next time you come, bring me beef, peaches, pecans, and wheat. And then when you're done, hit dismiss, and that person will be gone. Where is it? They'll take off, and that's the end of the trading thing. Okay, so just to summarize, your storage barn gathers all the materials and items and goods that you make and grow and collect. Your stockpile collects all the natural resources you mine out of the earth. The marketplace collects all the items from your barns and collects them in one area and prepares them to be given to your trading post. Your trading post gathers things from the merchants and sets it up for trade. So that is the basics of storage markets in trade. Okay, now let's talk about town services. In town services, you have wells. As you grow your society, you have kind of these Sim City events where you'll have randomized attacks, or you'll have your houses, if they're put too close together, like these houses are touching. So if this wood house catches fire, this wood house will catch fire, and you'll have a kind of a domino effect, and you'll have an impact on your housing. So you want to make sure that within groups of buildings, an epicenter like this, you want to make sure that you have something of it. Well, you can do this after the first 20 days and kind of fireproof the rest of your buildings and everything. I haven't done this except for just a couple key places in the game. Now, the number one thing that I would put down in the first 10 days is a school building. A school building, I have two here. A school building is important to provide for an educated population. The more educated population you have, the more efficient you are. In my population, I'm 90% educated, which means that, as you see, 22 are children. So that just means that 22% are growing up, and it's good. Or 10% is growing up. You want to keep a 10% child kind of in the back burner to be able to replace your population as you grow. 10% of whatever your total population is what you should have in your child, and roughly in what's being currently educated. So as this goes up, if you have like 1,000, you want to make sure you have 100 students and 100 babies, and kind of on the back burner. So buildings, these schools are very important for replacing your production, your workers. It's really important. So that is the schoolhouse. Your hospitals, I wouldn't really worry about until after you have over 100, or over, yeah, over 100 people, because your health will start going down, and you'll notice that the stored medicine isn't enough anymore. And that usually happens from after 80 to 100 and above. And the hospital will be able to bring that up, and you'll see when that triggers, because your health will start to decrease randomly as you grow up, as your population grows, and you'll be able to put down a hospital. You should be set up on production then. The next thing that I would put down after schoolhouses as an option is the town center. The town center is one of the most important. The town hall is one of the important things. Yes, you have this very general overview of your supplies and materials, but it doesn't quite tell you everything you need to know. In the town hall will give you information about production, and it will tell you, stuff that you need to decide at what rate you're being able to use things, like when do I decide how do I grow my population? Well, I look at this. I look at my food production. I always make sure that my food production is above my population. So if I'm using 14,921 per year, and I'm producing 19,000 or close to 20,000, then I know I'm within a healthy range, and I can go ahead and build more houses and promote growth. But as we start getting closer to that number, I start focusing on increasing food population. So it's these things are just an equal balance. Remember, food must come before your population growth. This is something that's very, very important, and you want to build that somewhere in the town center. It's also really cool because it gives you a one-stop shop of everything that you have in your inventory, so you don't have to click to each individual barn. So this is one place that I can look at here and go to my trader and look. Oh, look, I have 2,500 logs. I can send 500 at a time. I have 1,500 mushrooms, so on and so forth. It also gives you graphs. You can look at your graphs of how you've grown a 5-year, 10-year, so on and so forth as you can grow. The biggest challenge of this is, see, there is going to be a constant growth rate. They're going to die at a constant rate. So you have to be able to keep up with demands. There's a ticking clock the entire time. So that's kind of the challenge of your game, is how long can you keep your town alive? Because it is possible to get to like 200-300 people and then suddenly have one mistake where you didn't feed them enough, and then you lose your entire population, and because they're not happy and they see death all around them, there's a huge spiral of cause and effect. You can lose an entire population even though you have 500,000 food stored in a million wood and a million stone. You could totally lose your population from one of these big mistakes. This is also a place where nomads can apply for citizenship. You can allow them and deny them. They typically appear once you have kind of a stable environment. And here we'll kind of tell you what your total trade is. I'm missing 3 trade items in this version of the game. This is an early game for me, and I wanted to show you a small town for me. It's because there's a lot of visual clutter once you give above 500 population. So, okay, after that we have the chapel, and the chapel is kind of a late game. It's not really that important. If you're having happiness issues indicated by the stars, you can throw down a chapel and stop thinking about this being the center of town. Start thinking about this being the center of the first part of the population. And as you build in terms of subdivisions. This is a subdivision. Next, I'm going to expand in this direction. I'm going to have houses. I'm going to have a hospital. I'm going to build the chapel over here. And as you spider out, you want to make sure that they all have the same thing that these people had, and I'll be able to operate independently. And so chapel is one of those things you want to wait after, I'd say after 20 days in the game, or 20 years in the game, you'll be fine. I've been saying days, but I've meant years. And finally, your cemetery. After your people will start dying off right around year 8. So or 8 to 10. So you want to make sure that around that time you have a cemetery. As your first generation starts to die out, your population will get sad and the production will reduce if you don't have something like a cemetery for them to plot. When I click on this, there's 11 of 96 graves open, so I have a good long potential. And put this kind of out of the way, out of town, somewhere, it's just something that's there to make sure that your town, you don't lose the happiness. Okay, So this has been an overview of the storage markets and trade and the town services. Some of these items here are kind of late game items. It isn't like any other game where you just rush to put it down. You really need to create a surplus and then put them down as you need them, because you never know when you'll run out of resources, or you'll lose them, or somebody will come and rob them, and all the resources that you allocated to building something you really don't need because you got excited are going to be wasted. So, you know, make smart choices whenever you're plotting the lives of your little mini sim people here. Okay, folks, if you like these videos, please leave a comment. It's really important. I love hearing what people have to say. Hit me up on Steam. I'm a friendly. I Twitch. You can catch me on Twitch under the Urban Watcher is my Twitch name. This has been Understanding Banished. I'm the Urban Watcher. Thanks for watching.
I'm a man.